Rexel Canada involves vendor and digital strategy, which is a wide array of responsibilities stemming from our digital interface with our suppliers and our customers alike, and in between satisfying a lot of our evolution in terms of the way we go to market. The rebate evolution at Rexel Canada is encompassing with the way our business expanded over time. More recently, we've seen a lot of green products entering the market, and as a result, there have been a lot of rebates associated with volume and loyalty parts to that. Some of our core vendors have had rebates that are predicated on growth and certain elements of things we mutually want to see. What we do feel at Rexel Canada is managing that aspect of our business has been a core sort of foundation of our success going forward. The challenges I had starting the role 3 years ago is I inherited a portfolio of rebates that had been around in our company for close to 30 years in some respects, all run through our ERP. Unfortunately, a lot of that information was in what I'll call a black box and was not very accessible to a wider group of people to allow them to make better decisions into the field. So that was the first challenge, is decoding what we had. And unfortunately, a lot of the knowledge that was baked inside those modules was only understood by a small constituency of people. So the big challenge was taking that information and having it accessible to a wider group of our managers across the country. Writing out a list of our desires and what we had, and just going through that process and talking to a lot of people, industry and sort of infrastructure data people in parallel. And then understanding what our goals were. You needed to understand that we had a lot of information that wasn't accessible. Was that a good or a bad thing to have that accessible to people? And we kind of agreed wholesalely that having more information in an open source environment was the way to go. And with that in mind, then we searched out the appropriate supplier. And in that case, it was Enable that did check a lot of the boxes for us. We chose Enable at Rexel Canada for a whole host of reasons. Mainly, the first one being that the founder was involved intimately in the rebate process in his previous life. So we understood that there was somebody driving that organization that understood the challenges I faced daily and was very approachable. On top of that, though, there was an understanding that the rebate process module in itself was part of a much wider evolution that they appear to be understanding and then developing and forward. So we plan on growing. Rebates is a big part of our business, but we need a partner who will grow with us in different elements of our business. And that was a big uptick for us. What we do now have is a lot more suppliers in our business that we didn't have previously. So to manage those suppliers and manage the shift in purchasing behaviors was a big thing for us. So we needed something a little bit more robust and nimble, and Enable certainly checks that box. At the beginning, I thought I was smarter than the machine and built a spreadsheet that I really just tripped and fell on myself a few times, and quickly figured out that Andrew and Enable were probably better suited to deal with the needs I had versus my spreadsheet. So I think out of the gates, it was sort of like the contact from Enable back into Rexel Canada was very positive. So that stood out early. They were engaged, they were energetic on the subject. The enthusiasm, it was infectious, truthfully. And also on top of that, the ability for us to sort of create our own bespoke environment within their software that fit our needs versus sort of comporting to somebody else's demands in software. I often see that. So that was something that certainly attracted us. The features are many. The executive dashboard's a good one. I like the fact that my group can upload their own rebate deals and manipulate them without having a third party being involved. So it allows us to be quite nimble and quick. As a result, I am negotiating quite a lot of these deals all the way through. So I want to be able to change what I have, and in parallel to be able to sort of synthesize what changes would look like at the end result, so we can run some scenarios through. The executive dashboard on the flip side has allowed me to get that information, which I discussed earlier, which was a bit of a black box, into a wider group of people. That would be like our general managers, vice presidents, and finance community alike. We've been able to make smarter decisions since deploying Enable in the field and related to our purchasing behaviors. In past, we'd source out the lowest price point of any particular product, irrespective of some deals we had in play, which kind of bind us with our core suppliers. So we've been able to get that information to a wider group of people, VPs, general managers, our finance community alike. And as a result, we've been able to affect our bottom line in a much more sort of linear way than in past lives. It's shortened down the amount of paperwork I used to deal with, or my predecessors on top of that. So that has been an absolute benefit to that. And also in tandem, we're in some aspects a 100-year-old company, 76-year-old company. We have two different banners that are quite established in Canada. So it's allowed us to sort of bring that part of our business forward and then bring along other elements of our digital transformation also. So, bringing something like Enable in allows us then to set a foundation for other parts of our business we're targeting to improve. I think on one aspect, they see us evolving in tandem to them. We've been able to drag some of our partners along with us on that journey. And I think having the information in an open source environment has allowed us also to catch a lot of mistakes, because there's a dual sign-off part to it. So by catching these mistakes, we've been able to avoid sort of like conversations in 15 months that often weren't very positive. So that has been a big part of that journey for us. What we pay for what we receive has been invaluable for us all the way through. As time expands, I see the value of that, and the ROI is greater than one, and I'm proud to tell people our story all the way through. My advice would be to understand exactly what you want, right? To have software for the sake of software, I mean, it does check a box, I'm sure, organizationally, but to understand exactly your needs and wants and desires, have your arms wrapped around what you have today before you then go ahead and integrate something like Enable or any one of those software packages. My predecessor did a lot of that scope work previously, and he'd understood that quite well, and I was part of that transformation, bringing it forward. But just having a clear idea of what the goal is versus just buying software. Because if you're doing that just to check a box, you're going to be sorely disappointed because you're not going to take full advantage of the opportunity. Actually, I just want to add more partner programs. That is my actual plan to utilize the software. I want to be able to expand it. In my previous life, in our previous sort of way we ran with the software programs, we were limited in terms of how much we could add, and by default, we couldn't take advantage of the wide pool of partners we do have. So my plans are to land and expand all the way through. And it's particularly as we sort of move into more electrification, we're going to see a lot more suppliers that we didn't know 2 years ago that will be important to our business. So that's my plan.